I'm curious about one question related to career and one question related to relationships.
Okay.
So I guess that's two questions. The first one is I'm obviously spending a lot of time on career. As I just told you, I'm having the palpitations. And I would like to know, is this the right path? Should I keep going with this and in this way at this speed?
Here's the answer. You and speed, it's a complicated relationship. It looks like you are really good at going long and going hard. Like you tend to work incredibly hard and you're not great with the boundaries thing. Oh. You just kind of work until you collapse or you work until something stops you, eh?
Mm-hmm. That's
and
correct.
So you're going through a period right now where you have great opportunity for power and success and expansion of your career. Mm-hmm. But if I was to say to you, yeah, keep on going at this speed, then I would be slightly inhumane because success is only success if you can feel it. I know you live in LA, and so a lot of people will disagree with me, but I know I'm right, is that I've worked with so many successful people. I know many successful people in a conventional sense. And are they happier than people who have less? No, no fucking way they're not. So you know that some of the ways in which you're working aren't sustainable and they're not really serving you, but they're effective. And so the question is, if you believe in what you're doing, and if you want to build it for your future, can you use this moment to develop new habits so that if you are as successful as it seems like you could be, that you could actually enjoy your fucking success, that you could actually, that you could thrive and be abundant and not just have more. Does that make sense as an answer?
Yeah.
So did you get this off of just his chart or
yes,
or a genuine feeling?
100% off his birth chart.
Wow.
Yeah. 100% the birth chart. I can drop a couple details. I just assume you guys won't know what I'm saying, but watch me go. So you've got this Mars-Jupiter conjunction in the anaretic degrees of Taurus in the first house. And this is why you've always been like, people like you, you get along, opportunities kind of fall into your lap. You're kind of resilient. And I said kind of because you have mitigating factors in your chart. But this part of you is very resilient. And you get so much positive reinforcement for going long, going hard, for being resilient, for being a kind of like easygoing but strong, like, very present guy, that it's easy for you to overdevelop that part of yourself because it gets such great results and people like it, and underdevelop how you feel and what you need. And those are things that you do have a tendency to underdevelop. I know we're going to talk about love. I was just giving you a little spoiler. And for you to have a balanced life in the way that you actually want, where you have, friends and you have love and you have time to be alone because you need time alone. For you to have all those things will require figuring out how to pace yourself more efficiently as an adult. Because pacing yourself efficiently in your 20s is a different thing than in your 30s, and it's a different thing on and on every decade, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, that's the quick. And also your midheaven is at 25 degrees of Cap, and Pluto's conjunct your midheaven, so your career is kind of exploding right now. And
so which career is this? Is this he's got a couple different things going on.
But they're all interconnected, no?
Yes.
Yeah. So when I look at Cam's chart, what I see is that on the one hand, it does look like you have the tendency to have like your job. You have a career that's like a job that is like the thing that you put at the top of the pile. But everything you do is interconnected because you're just that kind of guy. And also, that might not be the thing you like the most. And I am a fucking hippie. So I think you should love what you do if you do it over and over again, And that's not always possible. But for you, it is. For you, your chart says very clearly, if you're willing to be true to yourself in a way that doesn't always make sense to other people, if you're willing to make adjustments kind of frequently, even when you'd rather just like set it and forget it, if you're willing to do those things, you can pretty much have what you want. The trouble is you do get stopped up with your personal life. And it influences your goals a little bit. But you're really young, and I imagine that from what I'm seeing, you're doing great. I'm not worried for you. Who's worried? Is someone worried for you? I mean, we're worried that you're sick right now, but we're not worried for you. You're doing well. Does that make sense to both of you?
I appreciate that. I think my mother loves that.
Okay.
Here's why she loves it. Because I have this career, which is this podcast network that I run.
Oh, you run a podcast network.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And then I have this show with Mom. It's called Sex Talk with My Mom that you're currently on.
Yes, indeed.
And we're hoping to make it into a TV show. And she recognizes that my time is limited between all of these different things. So obviously she wants the one involving her.
Well, you kind of said it without saying
pop
it.
off.
The other thing is, listen, you're really good at asking for help and you're also really bad at asking for help, Cam. Like you're both. And I think there's just certain things that you prefer to do by yourself because you just want them to be done right. And you're a Pisces and you prefer to be like easygoing and nice with people, but you're actually like really rigid and there's a way that things need to be done around certain things. So, and those are the
100%.
things you don't like to ask for help with. Yeah.
I mean,
And
he's a
so,
perfectionist.
you're dealing with that very much to your own detriment. And I mean it. Like it is something to work on because there's no such thing as perfection, and every failure is an opportunity to learn. And there's a way, okay, and pardon me because I'm doing a damn thing here, but there's a way that you manage your mental health by being perfectionistic. And when things go sideways on you, you take it real fucking hard. Luckily, they don't go sideways on you a ton, but when they do, it can be really hard on you psychologically and emotionally. And so part of your perfectionism is kind of like keeping unpleasantness at bay. And so from my perspective, looking at your birth chart, developing greater emotional intelligence and more kind of accessible and appropriate emotional tools for yourself right now as you are and as you grow, the easier it will be to manage work-life balance and manage perfectionism. Because the problem isn't really around how you work. It's more about your motivation for why you work yourself so hard. I'm giving you excellent advice. I don't mean to brag. I know it doesn't totally make sense,
It
but
does.
think about it and work with it.
I plan to re-listen to this and soak it in.
Good, that's the goal. I make everyone that I work with record our sessions, and I recommend that they take notes. And people countless times have told me that they listen to the recording again and then it's like they get a new reading every time they do because they're hearing different levels of it. Again, those who say I just think it'll be fun, I feel so bad for them because it's not totally fun. So you wanted to ask me about love?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what's the question.
So I guess the question, this might tie into your comments about mitigating factors. For the listeners who've been listening to the show for 6 years, I think it's quite evident that it's very challenging for me to find a long-term relationship or even short-term relationships, honestly. I partially know why that is, but I'm curious to know why you think it is, and also if I should try to change that in any way.
Do you want to be in a long-term relationship?
If I found the right person,
That's not an answer.
no, I'd be open to that. Eventually, I do want to be in a long-term relationship.
Okay.
And have a family.
Oh, so you want human children?
Human children, ideally.
Okay. I mean, people have dogs. People have
Yeah,
cats.
yeah.
They're very happy with birds. Okay, so you're saying in a very Piscean, non-direct way that you want to be in a partnership that leads to children, aka a marriage, but not now, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
And that's your answer. The reason why you're not getting into relationships, okay, watch me get real. Okay. You don't like hurting people's feelings. You don't like saying no to people. And you're straight, right? You date girls, women, ideally women. So what do women want? Generally speaking, commitment, right? They want to know it's moving towards a thing. You're ambiguous. Ooh, your sun is in Pisces. It's in the 12th house. You have an intercept moon in Aries. Ambiguity is your middle name when it comes to relationship stuff. Not much else. You're not ambiguous around career. Not at all. But when it comes to intimacy, you are ambiguous. And so you do this thing where you start dating women and they're like, oh my God, he's so serious. He's so sweet. This is going somewhere. And you're like, I don't know, maybe. And then you bounce, but you feel bad. A lot of dudes bounce and they feel fine. You bounce and you feel bad. And so instead of putting yourself in that position, you just get really picky or you only go for unavailable people. And that is called a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so here we go. Learning how to have boundaries with people is really important. And part of having boundaries with people is not giving them everything in the first 3 dates. You do this because, in part, you've got Venus in Pisces, you're romantic, you're a little bit devotional, and you're like love language or whatever. You like being perceived as a sweet person. Unfortunately, what this translates to in heterosexual union is, oh my God, he's so sweet. He's a podcast with his mother. Let's do this. And then you're like, oh my God, no, wait, no, whoa, wait, no, what, wait. And so again, low self-esteem makes you feel like shit. And we're back to, what are your coping mechanisms for feeling like shit? You work. You become busy. So now we have a cycle. And unfortunately, in the context of capitalism and being an ambitious person, it's a very kind of high functioning coping mechanism. And it's so high functioning, you could do what a lot of dudes do. You could wake up one day, you're 45, and you're like, oh, fuck, I guess I really actually have to fix this. And then what do? Well, you have a lot of options, but all of them involve you, if you have kids, being a much older father, which isn't bad, but I can see in your chart it's not what you want. And I can see in your chart, sorry, mom, if this is a sorry, mom thing, that you are ambiguous about kids. You said you wanted kids in such a clear way. I imagine you've been saying that your whole life. I don't believe you. I believe that you maybe want kids. But I do see how seriously you take parenting and how seriously you take intimacy and how you haven't figured out how to navigate your own independent needs yet. And so it scares you because having kids means your heart is walking around in other people's bodies, right? Like it's not something to be cavalier about. How can you work the way you work as a dad? A lot of guys could. A lot of women could. I don't know that you could.
No, he couldn't.
You care really intensely. And I think that all of these things put together, and you're how old now? I know I'm looking at your birth year, but just tell me.
32.
Thank you. Okay, so you're right at the verge of your Christ year. Okay. Okay, yeah. So this is all good stuff. You're the right age for us to be having this conversation because next year, your 33rd year, will be a time where you really do need to, you will be confronted with your choices here. And it's not choices around women. Attracting partners is not your problem, honey. Like you have problems, that's not your problem. The problem is more around what you're willing to do and whether or not it works for you. And I will give you a little bit more here, which is to say that even though you're really ambiguous and you like to pull back, you got abandonment issues. And so you don't like women who are super like aloof and cavalier. You like women who are like attentive. And this can, again, become a problem for you. And does this all make sense to the two of you? I mean, it's rare that I get to say two of you, but...
I know. I don't know if the last part made sense to me.
The women date or the abandonment issues?
The abandonment. I think he's the one to... Maybe he rejects first to avoid the rush. He abandons them so he doesn't get hurt.
I would agree with that.
Which one?
I mean, up until that statement, you have given me the best interpretation, and you know, I don't think I've ever had a reading that was that accurate.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let's dig just one moment, because I can be wrong about one thing and right about one thing, and this is life. But let me ask you about this. So you don't have abandonment issues. Has anyone ever broken up with you?
No.
Interesting.
Maybe one person.
In seventh grade.
But it was a mutual thing.
Okay, so they broke up with you, but it was mutual. Huh.
Right.
It's very Piscean answer again. Very Piscean answer. Okay. So
I'd like to do a podcast with him.
So here, let me say something. So there's something as an astrologer that I'm always looking out for, which is what I call the projected form of the birth chart. So when I look at your birth chart, it says, oh, look, he's got abandonment issues. The idea of being broken up with, or worse, somebody just fucking bouncing, somebody just leaving, is very painful. So how do you work around it? You just only engage with people who you're quite certain are not going to do that, even though ironically that doesn't work for you, because those people end up being a little bit needier and a little bit too like there for you. And so you end up leaving because that doesn't work either. The key for you, and I cannot say this emphatically enough, is boundaries. It's having healthy boundaries with yourself so that you can then have them with women. Because the truth is, the woman who's going to be like the right person for you has her own fucking thing going on.
Exactly.
And also she is tender and supportive and like really emo. And also, third very important part, and I'm sure mom is going to agree with me, will call you on your shit. Because it looks like people don't always do that because you're so nice. But in intimate relationships is where, and again, you haven't had many yet, it sounds like, so maybe it's like TBD here. But in intimate relationships, the parts of you that are not as nice is where it comes out. When you're done, when you don't want to have a conversation, you're done. When you're shut down and you just need to be alone, you're done. And not super flexible there. And in a marriage, in an intimate long-term relationship, that shit is either going to not fly, or you need the right person who's like, okay, he's off for now. Or, hey, I'm over here, honey. You don't get to just check out until we finish our conversation. And they say it in a way that actually works with you. And this is something that is difficult. It's just difficult, but it's absolutely doable. You know, finding the right person is a risk, because if you seek the right person, you might find the wrong person.
Do you see in my chart that I'm going to end up with one person?
Are you asking me about marriage, or are you asking me about polyamory?
Oh, no, more about marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, finding one is no need. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you know, I just like to be real specific here. Truth talk. If you want to be partnered, you can be. It is in your best interest to be partnered. And do I see that it will happen? I can't say that. You are very strong-willed. You are very strong-willed. And I think that let me put it this way. I can walk around the world being like, I want to lose 5 pounds. I want to lose 5 pounds. I tell all my friends, I want to lose 5 pounds. I think about it all the time. I want to lose 5 pounds. And then, hey, can I have a bite of your muffin? I just bought a chocolate bar. I'm eating all of the coffees with all of the creamer and the whipped cream. So there's a difference between desire and choice. And you have not made the choice, or any of the many choices one needs to make to have a partner. Now, you can make that choice later today. You can make that choice tomorrow. But you have not currently made that choice. And I think that this is where we come back to free will. And I see that even though you could absolutely be partnered, married, happily, with or without kids, why? Even though you could absolutely, it is, I think, something that would make you very happy, you could absolutely not end up doing it. And that would be a passive choice that you make with great effort, as you've been doing, as I would describe it.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome, /Larry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That was great. I mean, it's fascinating.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing that.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Yeah. I mean, I love reading charts. Like, I love it. If I could marry it, I would. I mean, I have. I've
we're
married
going to
it.
run out of time for me.
We can't. We're not running out of time. Let's do you now.
Let's do you now, Mom.